I want to talk a little bit about attachment theory. Nobody really talks about this idea that insecure attachment is really a scarcity of presence. And I want to go into that and share some experiences and ideas I have about that in some ways that you can actually build security in yourself starting anytime, starting right now. And in the more time you have to build that up, the stronger it's going to become. And so, it's best to get started as soon as possible. So to start with this video, I just want to give a quick summary of attachment theory. So basically, you have two types of people in relationships according to attachment theory. You have secure and you have insecure. Secure means that you're good. You're pretty good in relationships. You're not anxious about things. You're not trying to avoid things. You're just secure. Now, if you're insecure, you're going to probably fall into one of these two. And this, to me, is relationship dependent. It'll be, one way. The attachment theory all started with mothers or primary caregivers and children. They were studied. And the researchers found that some children who were insecurely attached with their mothers would become very anxious when the mother left the room. And children who were avoidant would just act like the mother wasn't there even when the mother was in the room. Whereas the children who were secure, they were playful and explorative. When the mother left the room, they noticed, but when the mother came back, they weren't like angry or avoiding the mother. So that's how they came up with these attachment styles. With anxious and avoidant, here's a couple ways to kind of distinguish them. The anxious child is always or the anxious person in a relationship is always trying to fix it. It's very synonymous with clinginess or being clingy. And the person the anxious person usually sees their partner as a god, meaning they see only the good parts of the partner. Whereas the avoidant sees the partner as a demon, meaning they see only the bad parts. They're always focused on what's bad. And that they're essentially repressing the good parts so that it's easier to tell themselves, I don't need this person, basically. They're pushing away, trying to avoid. And especially when it comes to conflict, you see these roles really play out. The anxious becoming very clingy, the avoidant trying to push away, get away from me, I need some space, that kind of thing. And then we have a little profile of the secure person. They don't try to fix or avoid. They're able to accept their partner as they are. They're not clingy. They're not pushing away. They're just present. They see their partner as a human being, is more than their good parts, more than their bad parts, more than both of those parts combined. Just complex and beautiful. So that's secure. We talked a little bit about the child and the primary caregiver experiments. They would have children in a room, kind of I always pictured it like a daycare room with some other kids around or some toys or whatever. And the child that would get really anxious or clingy to their parent, even if the parent was in the room, some of these anxious children would be clinging to the parent. They wouldn't want to go out and play with the toys. Whereas the avoidant would just be avoiding the parent the whole time, acting like the parent just doesn't even exist, or maybe even wanting the parent to leave. And then the secure child would, was kind of loving with the parent, and you could tell that it was a good relationship with the parent, but was able to go out and explore and play and be curious about the world away from the parent as well. So they had this sense of security and trust that the parent would be watching them or would be there, even if they weren't trying to get the parent's attention. So yeah, that's basically the experiments that started all of attachment theory was that. So this is where I kind of have, just by studying attachment theory myself over the years, have come to my own conclusions. Every human relationship is shaped by how attention is given or withheld. It all comes down to attention, to presence. So we'll keep that in mind for a minute, but let's change gears just for a minute. I want to talk about abundance versus scarcity, and then we'll tie it all together. So we'll talk about abundance and scarcity just in the sense of like a primitive hunter-gatherer tribe. That's a really easy way to kind of see it in a more concrete, less abstract way. So in a tribe, when there's abundance, we have an ability for the tribe's people to just shift their brain into being mode. Whereas if there's scarcity, the brain gets activated into doing mode. And so when you're in doing mode, scarcity, triggered by scarcity, you're hunting, you're gathering, you're trying to fix the situation because there's a scarcity of food. You're excluding people or blaming people because you want to push them away because more people means less food or more mouths to feed. Whereas if there's an abundance, then you're in being mode. You can be curious. Being mode enables play and connection and enjoyment. You're not constantly searching for your next meal. You're able to just be. Now, the same thing happens with abundance and scarcity of attention, in presence, in relationships. When there's a scarcity of presence, we shift into doing mode. So in the anxious, we'll look at the anxious attachment. When presence is scarce, the parent is ignoring or dismissing the child, and that creates a sense of scarcity of presence. And then the child reacts by performing to be seen, by being very dramatic or clingy. You have to see me. If a child is not seen by their parent, then there's real danger. Like it's built into a child's wiring to make sure that they are seen by the parent. And if they're consistently ignored or dismissed or feel that they're not being seen, then they're going to step up their game kind of to be seen. Because then, when danger comes around, the parent will see that and be able to protect the child. So anxious scarcity is really clinginess, the child performing to be seen. Avoidant scarcity, once again, it's a scarcity of presence and attention. The parent sees the child, but instead of just being with the child, of being present with the child, they're trying to fix or control what they see in the child. So it's a signal that's saying, I don't have an abundance of presence to give you. So we need to fix your problem. We need to change you so that I can move on to the next thing and not be present with you again. And so the parent isn't neglectful like they are in the anxious relationship, but there's still that scarcity of presence. And what happens in this relationship is that the child just ends up repressing their needs and just essentially kind of shutting out of their brain the idea or the sense that they have a need for presence or need to be seen by their parent. And so That's avoidant. And then security, in abundance, the securely attached, the child feels deeply seen. There's a deep presence not to fix or to use or to control or to change the child from the parent, but just to be with them. The parent is present and attends to the child with love. And the child then, the response isn't, the child isn't trying to perform for that presence or repress the need for that presence, but is encouraged and feels free to go out and explore, to be curious, to play, to connect. So it really comes down to presence and like attention, and then why. Why are you attending? Are you doing it to control, or are you doing it out of an abundance? You have an abundance to give, and so you're present with me, and we're just being together. We're enjoying each other's company. We are exploring. We're curious about one another. We're trying to understand one another. So the problem is you can't rely on your partner, at least, especially when you're just dating somebody. As a relationship matures, you start to understand each other better. You compromise and negotiate. But when you're dating, first of all, there's going to be a lot of times when you're single throughout the dating process. Second of all, you're not going to be able to just rely on somebody. And it's really not good to put that kind of pressure on somebody to make you secure, to make you feel secure. But the good thing is that you can build that security within yourself, independent of the person that you're in a relationship with, or whether you're in a relationship or not. So here are some tips on building security. Be present with yourself. That means like turning off social media, no distractions, just taking some time just to sit with yourself, to see yourself without fixing. Not seeing your thoughts and feelings as problems, but seeing them as like people, like friends, like personalities that are, that are with you in your room or at your table, and being curious about them, asking them questions, listening to them, and being kind, and that inner voice. If you can over time practice kindness with your inner voice or your inner self, rather than like there's the inner critic. If you can over time understand that and build a relationship with that inner critic, and build a relationship that's built on kindness, not tolerating, prejudice, quick judgments, things like that, not tolerating, I am a loser talk, mean words, things like that. But then still being a steady presence and still relating to those inner voices, those inner personalities with kindness. And then your whole inner self kind of becomes less of a hostile place and more of a place of kindness and abundant presence. And when you have that abundant presence within yourself, then real security starts to build. And it's funny with attachment theory, like the securely attached child and the parent is ultimately giving that child that inner place of abundance, with kind attention and presence. It gives that child, it forms that child's inner life to be that way already. And so basically, if you're someone who's anxious or avoidant, if you have an insecure attachment, then you kind of have to build that on your own a little bit. But it's completely possible. and it's completely doable. And those are the steps. And then once you've built that, then you want to turn outward, because when you're a secure person, you're a real gift to the world. I mean, security tempts people, insecure people, to be more secure. Now, insecure people also tempt secure people to be more insecure. But if you can continually practice and build that inner abundance of presence, then you're going to be very strong in your security. And that's just your presence with others is going to be a tremendous gift. It's really a beautiful thing. And so, yeah, go outward, attend to others the same way that you attend to yourself, that you have that inner presence with yourself, not to get attention or change or control them, just to understand them, to, explore them. You're curious about them. You want to be present with them because you enjoy being present with other people. I mean, we're meant to be present with each other. We're meant for relationship. And then share yourself too. Share, what your thoughts and feelings are. And when there's a secure relationship there, that sharing can be more open and free. So that's kind of my thoughts on attachment theory, and kind of, I think that is a powerful way to approach it. And let me know your thoughts if you think there's anything significant there. If you disagree with anything, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Ultimately, build security by practicing presence. Thanks for watching. Peace.